Howdy folks, welcome back to another stream with me, Fluent Code, here live on Twitch and YouTube. Sorry, let me just find some, that'll do, zero copyright free background music canned rubbish to just take up the quiet spots. Oh my word, Badger, you jumped in there straight away. I've literally just gone live. What are you doing to me, man? What are you doing? But I'm not going to ask if your stream went well, because I know it went well because I was there. I watched it. I saw it happen live. Going to start off in a slightly different format than usual, and I might actually introduce this every now and again. In that I've just had a hot from the press delivery of the new White Dwarf. When I say the new White Dwarf, I of course mean issue 171, March 1994. So yeah, an old White Dwarf. I love to do a little old White Dwarf review every now and again. Don't you worry, we will be painting. But yeah, I figured that it's just arrived fresh from eBay, so we might as well do a little flip through, peruse some of this ancient goodness before we get on with the actual painting. So yeah, so as you can see here on the front cover, we have my absolute favorite. I love this. This is the same as the cover on the Eldar Codex. Beautiful piece of artwork. There is an expanded bit of this artwork, I believe, which has more going on. And I think somebody also did something where they featured some of the other aspects and what. Yeah, it's absolutely glorious. There is actually a really nice STL out there of this miniature as well, which is normally you see it done up in like 54mm scale. And currently I've seen somebody who's painting it, and so far he has painted the sword, and it is just absolutely stunning. I've never seen such work gone on to a piece of plastic about yay long. It's just absolutely incredible. Anyway, inside cover, the ideal place for a bit of model goodness, you know. Dioramas with the old ancient rocks made out of polystyrene, covered in sand and glue and paint and loveliness, and some very pink gene stealers. Love that, with their testicle pink and whatever it was, wizardly purple or and then down here we've got two squads of Space Marines. One good guy's over here and one bland guy's over there. Yeah, this is quite interesting to me, because these guys, and I had a sneaky peek at the back of it. These guys came in at the same time as the Khorne Berserker Assault Marines, which, if we just jump to the end here, I'll just sort of give you this. How ridiculous were these guys? These guys with their single bare leg, you know, fully power armored. You know, some of them have got, oddly enough, it's the axe arm that's not power armored, but their singular bare leg. Can you imagine watching one of those running across the battlefield towards you and not bursting out with laughter? He's going to be running and wobbling around. I think they're absolutely terrible models, those ones, but quite in keeping with the time frame of when they were released. They're period correct, aren't they? Let's face it. So let's have a look. What was happening back in March 1994? I was a grand total of 11 years old. Yeah, about 11 years old. So we saw the release of Dark Millennium, the the devastating psychic battles, methods of creating your own war machines. Can you imagine that these days? Creating your own rules for war machines. Well, Dark Millennium actually had the rules to do so. What a time to be alive. Oh, Badger, you've beat me by a couple of years. You're truly a chapter ancient. Yeah. So Dark Millennium, with its rules for proper psychic power usage and creating your own tanks and everything. That was a really good one. Then what else do we have on here? Oh, Gretchen. Yeah. Dark transfers. Yeah. And then Warp Spiders. Warp Spiders with Gene Stealers came out this year. Blood Angels Death Company. Cool. That was a hectic release. Also, please note the Warhammer novels down at the bottom here. These things now, if you can get them in these original printings in good condition, they are actually worth quite significant amounts of money. I don't think I've ever seen a real life copy of Route 666. But yeah, well worth looking out for them, especially if you see them at car boot sales or things like that. What did we have? Oh, next month sees the release of Blood Bowl, so we'll have to well, we might never actually see that now, because at the moment I'm pretty much going backwards from these guys. A little bit of Man O' War releasing, and a new Citadel Journal. Wow, issue 1 of the Citadel Journal. That's going back a bit, isn't it? Here we go. Plastic Space Marines, the proper multi-part plastic kit. Actually, you could create some really nice models out of that plastic kit. They were good. And then we've got a review of Dark Millennium here. So, War Gear Vehicles and Psychers. I'm not going to go in depth. You're going to have to go and buy your own copy of Dark Millennium in order to see what's actually going on. But suffice to say, vehicle squadrons, support weapon batteries, Psychers, runic powers. You've got to remember that 1994 was fairly early on in the second edition lifespan. So up until that point, a lot of people might still have actually been working with the Black Codex, which quite possibly. I've got the box. I've got all the cards. What I don't have is the Dark Millennium book. I've lost it somewhere. So at some point I will see about getting a replacement one. So a lot of armies were actually still working from the Black Codex. So this was Dark Millennium. I think by the time Dark Millennium came out, all of the Codex. No, because there were ones that hadn't been released by that point. But a lot of armies got really interesting stuff, having their own psychic powers, things like that. A little bit of advertising there for a Manchester mega store. Yeah, look at that. The days when you went in and everything was bright and colourful, not like everything now, which is just... Have you actually been into a Games Workshop recently? They're quite bland. But I mustn't get into complaining that everything old is good and everything new is terrible, because that's not the way we do things. Nice rules here for Skarsnik and Gobbler, the warlord of the Eight Peaks. This, I love this. This model was a conversion. I can't remember exactly how they did it. They glued on No, that was the head from the Silver Helms at the time, the Silver Helms champion, stuck onto, I can't remember whose body they put him onto. It's not Tyrion's. I can't remember. But yeah, this is a conversion of the winged, the Pegasus riding guy. Really, really nice model. He featured in the 4th and 5th edition Codex army books, I believe. But yeah, look at this, back in the red era where everything had to have at least some red on it. I don't know, I might have told you that it was actually a conscious design decision. If you look, every single model here on this page has some of that exact shade of red in it. And it was a conscious decision from the studio that everything was going to be done on a goblin green base and everything was going to have that shade of red in it. And they did that for such a grand period of their time. The miniature design was fantastic. And look, every single model features that same shade of red, even if it's just tiny little bits like the crests on these knights. And no, squigs have to be red. It's the law. But everything, including, you know, the Chaos Dwarves, the Empire guys here, they all had that same shade of red in it. And the idea was a conscious decision to unify everything that they were putting out. And at the time, when Reaper Miniature were still churning out whatever old shit they wanted to, and Rowpather and all the rest of them, you know, all of these companies were churning out sort of random things. Games Workshop just went, no, we are going to have one solid design message. Solo Tear, thank you very much for joining the chat. Fingers crossed it might be familiar. This is a little bit of a review of my brand new hot from the press copy of White Dwarf 171. I semi-regularly order an old White Dwarf off of eBay to go towards completing my collection in my wall of nerd over there. So I figured I might turn it into a semi-regular little feature where we have a little review 14 issues before I started collecting. What would that put you on? 185? 185. Okay, and that puts you about 10 issues before I actually joined the hobby, to be fair. So 185. Just trying to remember offhand what that one was. Not familiar enough with it. It was only sort of 190 where I can remember. Oh, okay, yeah, I remember the Ultramarine cover. So this is a fairly detailed look at the forces of chaos in Space Marine, which I'm not that interested in the forces of chaos in Space Marine because, one, I don't think they were very good. They were certainly not the armies that I was interested in, even though by the time I joined, Space Marine was absolutely dying its final death. And it was only a few months or at sort of most a year or so later before Epic 40,000 reared its head. So what did pique my interest though were the squats. 100%. These guys here, the squat army, just utterly gorgeous. The models, the design ethic, I just thought it was absolutely beautiful. Oh, you didn't like Epic 40,000? I didn't think it was a bad rule set, to be honest with you. Okay. I mean, it was different, very much different, but I didn't think it was a bad rule set, if I'm honest with you. There we go with yeah, maybe like I say, Space Marine was in its death throes by the time I got round to it, so I never really experienced it at its height. Some absolutely wonderful models on here though. This Banelord Titan, I did love the Banelord. Wasn't quite so keen on the wheelchair of Khorne. That thing, not so much a fan of. But some of these others, the Cauldron, I'm not sure. Did they call it the Cauldron of Blood back then? I know they used that name in a later thing, but I'm sure it was a Khorne Cauldron of Blood. And then obviously we've got a Bloodthirster, and this little dude here was that's Angron. Believe it or not. There we go. Can I get a picture of him? Yes, I can just about get a picture of him. Yep, that's Angron. Lovely, lovely little, calm as you like Angron. Well, that's the model that they used for Angron. I don't think it really represented him very well. But then at that point, they hadn't really fleshed out the Primarchs, much less so the demon ones. Over here, yes, I do believe I did see the Imperator conversion. Over here, we've got a, what was that, Reaver? Yeah, Reaver Titan and then a Warhound in the background. I did love that Warhound model. It's just a shame. It's just a shame, to my knowledge, that the only way that you could get a posable version of this Warhound model is to grab the STLs and cut it up, do it yourself, which is an option nowadays. We can also see a very early Thunderhawk representation in there, as well as the by now ubiquitous Land Raider. And there's a big full page spread of it. So yeah, Banelord in a bit more detail. Look at that. It's like the Alien and an A10 had a baby. Nice bit of iconic Mark Gibbons artwork there. I did love that that back then they allowed the artist to include their signature in each of their imagery, which I think is pretty much gone now. Images like that are generally uncredited these days, which I think is a real shame. Good old battle report imagery here, which if any of you are interested, and I know some of you might be, because it does seem kind of up our street for people who watch this stream. There's a great little game on Steam called SOVL. I highly recommend it. It can normally be picked up absolutely dirt cheap, and it's basically Warhammer Total War, which I still don't know why they didn't call it Total Warhammer. Who knows? But Warhammer Total War crossed with an old school battle report. So basically you control the battle report icons to fight out with each other, which is a really, really cool little thing. Here we go. This is Warhammer Day battles. At each Warhammer Day, there are massive battles on specially made terrain with hundreds of expertly painted Citadel miniatures. Everything you need to play is provided. You just have to come down and join in the fun. After each battle, prizes are awarded to the most heroic players and for deeds of special valor. What a fun day out that sounds. What a fun day out. I feel like they should do more of that shit again. Take us back in time. And Badger, if you like the warp spiders, here is where they were released and introduced into the game. And forevermore, Warhammer 40,000 would be a broken thing. Oh, Queek Headtaker was an absolute stunning miniature. Look at that. An absolutely glorious miniature. And hard as nails. Absolutely hard as nails in the game. He really was a proper baller. So, warp spiders, the far superior Dark Reapers, which weren't completely broken. Oh, Queek was an absolute machine. If you got him into combat, and he was quite easy to get into combat using things like skitter leap, stuff like that, he would absolutely shred back in the day. Don't forget, it was called Hero Hammer back then for a reason, and the special named characters would just absolutely rinse their way through regiments of you know, your opponents. So yeah, Queek is a baller. Not quite so much as a baller as Tyrion, of course, although that is rather an odd colour scheme. And then we've got some kind of questionable conversions. You know, I like that. That's from, oh, what was his name? The guy who did all the... Neil something? I'm sure it was a Neil, who did all of the Space Wolf conversions, and he basically won Golden Demon after Golden Demon with them. Sure, what was his name? I'd have to look it up. And then, as if by magic, as if we were just talking about the glorious old battle reports, we have the introduction of the Eldar. So, the Eldar were the new thing of the time, along with Dark Millennium as well. At the time of writing, the new Eldar Codex was just being finished, and so we were able to use the revised and enlarged Eldar army list. Now, I don't want to foreshadow, because, you know, you guys are grown-ups and you're better than that. But I will tell you right now, the Eldar win. I'm sure you don't want me to go through a blow-by-blow account, but we can see a pretty damn stunning Eldar army in there. What I do like is the kind of almost sort of mottled effect that they've gone for on the Biltan. You know, they're kind of cool. The Rangers, which, even though they're Biltan, they do look like Rangers. I'm sure, was this a Rogue Trader Studio army? I'm not sure. I think it might have been. I think it might have passed over from Rogue Trader into 40k. And the Orcs. The Orcs of War Grishnak. War Boss Grishnak, armed with a bolt pistol, a sword, and frag stick bombs. A thrilling loadout there, with a combi weapon, a bolter combi weapon, and a displacer field. To be fair, an Orc War Boss didn't actually need an awful lot. He just was, and then he was a bit of a machine in combat. Lovely models, though. Really, really nice models on the... I think that's supposed to be the leader there. And then we get into the meat of it, where we see a whole big chunk of orcs, and a very, very thin, rather beleaguered looking battle line of Eldar. Scouts taking a forward position over here, fairly strong flank with the Hawks and the War Walker over here, and then Guardians for the rest of it. And you know, these guys are probably gonna sort of flank round a little bit, using the War Walker to anchor in the centre. Hopefully, pumping station and pond. Yes, I think you might be right. Let's have a look. Let's have a look if we can see it. And there we go. It was a staple of this period of battle reports. That pond is the pond that you're thinking of, with the effluent pipes that are all coloured and the like. And then this refinery thing just appeared in so many different battle reports. It's almost like an old friend, I would say. And just seeing a setup like this, you know, where you've got characters that are identifiable and what have you, and then this horde of orcs sweeping across the battlefield from the side. It's just absolutely stunning, if you ask me. Here we go. So the Eldar open fire as the orc advance closes in. Yeah, that's slowly but surely the orcs are racking up the victory points. That'll probably mostly be because you get victory points for wiping out squads and things like that, and it's quite difficult in the early turns, especially back in the day, to wipe out squads of orcs because there's so bloody many of them. However, this is where it starts to get interesting, where they drop swooping hawks onto, you know, legitimate targets, unlike some... Nope, not going there. I am not going there. That's... Yep. But yeah, dropping them onto the warp head is a really good option. Unfortunately, I think they probably did it a bit too early in the game, because as we see over here, they quickly get fairly stomped after doing so. Although I think they did manage to take out the warp head, which would be quite an achievement. Did they? Maybe not. Might actually have to read this at some point, and then we'll know exactly what's going on. Yeah, the remaining swooping hawks then proceed to jump across, and I believe a lot of this was caused by them dropping frag grenades. Here you can see that's their path of travel, and they drop frag grenades in here, which fairly thins the horde a bit. Of course, blast weapons are absolutely key. Another bit of just stunning Eldar artwork. Even if some of the helmets do look a bit goofy, it's kind of like they hadn't discovered what angle they were going to go with. But what I do like the early version of the Eldar missile launcher mounted on that dreadnought. Look at that. Fantastic. I think we're in the middle of an ad break, so we'll just observe some of these guys. Yeah, you can see how as we start to get into the nitty-gritty of it, the victory points start to flip the other way, and they do start to seriously thin down the herds here. Yeah, mate, the scenery back then was just so well done. If you've got it, the How to Make War Games terrain book, you know, the recipe for these trees is just so simple. It's a spider of like twisted metal, wrapped in PVA soaked like bandage, and then the leaves are just cut paper, sliced paper into palms. But yeah, the terrain back then was just absolutely glorious, and it wasn't the kind of weird you must have 6 L's of scenery. It's like, what in the hell is that all about? Oh well. To sum up, as it would be rude to go through the whole battle report without summing it up, the orcs, which are old and smelly, lost to the Eldar, which was shiny and new. Who would have thought it? When the battle smoke had cleared, the orcs had gone, leaving only the bodies of their fallen comrades. Among the corpses lay the dead warphead slain by my Farseer. And Farseers, again, were absolutely bonkers. Oh, aye. Yep. The Bath store was about to be your new local, and Chelmsford wasn't a million miles away from me, to be fair. So yeah. Look at this. Buy any 3 blister packs. We moved to Bath in '94 sometime. Buy any 3 blister packs and get the cheapest one free. How abusable would that have been to people with money back in the 90s? Oh. And then you had, now, the one advantage to being a store nerd, which was the kids who turned up during the summer holidays and helped everyone in the shop, as I told you. You know, things like painting the Ultramarines for the display board. You know, the Ultramarines chapter, was that I was once and once only allowed to place a metal order, which was one of the staff let me place their metal order. And if you've never heard of it, it was a thing of beauty. And what that was is you ordered from this sort of stuff, and then you paid for the weight of metal, and that was it. There was no individual cost. So Gazgol didn't have a cost beyond what he weighed as metal, and staff were able to do a limited number of metal orders per year. And my reward for helping out, like, basically the entirety of a summer holidays was, yeah, you can jump in on my metal order. There was no limit to the amount of weight that you could order beyond what would go into their largest shippable box, I think it was. But yeah, I ended up with an awful lot of metal miniatures, some of which I still have, some of which are on the table over there. I can't remember exactly which ones, but yeah. Do you know what I never really had, though? What I never really had was Orcses. I really missed out on the Orc bandwagon, and I do regret it to this day, because those Orc models, I'm not talking about Gazgol and Makiri, I didn't actually, look, he wasn't even named back then. I didn't actually like that Gazgol model very much. I didn't think it was very good. But some of these other ones, look at this Blood Axe Captain. Yeah, Bad Moon 1, glorious model. I love the fact that he doesn't have separate arms. The bosses, with a lot of these, they don't have separate arms. The arms are all modelled in one. And they're just such characterful, wonderful models. And I love the description of blood axes in the books. You know, these guys want to emulate the Imperials and the like. A nice selection there of weird boys. There was one for each faction. So like each orc clan had their own weird boys. You got Bad Moons, Goths, Death Skulls, Blood Axes, Snake Bites, and then there's a couple of generic ones that you had here as well. And then they could also have Minders, which is very cool. I like that a lot. As I found out the other day, when somebody else found out, it wasn't apparently common knowledge that Goth Knobs is short, or you know, Orc Knobs was short for nobles, and the English slang of, you know, the nobility being knobs. Apparently, some people from around the world thought that Games Workshop were being quite rude when they were talking about this subclass of orc hierarchy, and they didn't understand that knobs wasn't a pejorative term. It's a descriptive one. Yeah, so these guys are Goth nobles in effect. Again, some just fantastic models. And then probably some of the best models that I think have ever graced the Orc range, and that's the Metal Gretchen. You know, ones like this, you can just imagine this guy here is having such a whale of a time. He's having a lovely day. Ping, ping, pew, pew. But yeah, I do like these metal models. Unfortunately, as I say, I had so very few of them because these guys were my bag. The love affair hasn't worn off. I think that these, designed by Jez Goodwin, are probably some of the greatest models that Games Workshop has ever made. All four of those aspects there, top notch. The warp spiders, slightly laggy. The swooping hawks, stunning. The dire avengers, a little bit boring. And what in the creepy, weird, exercising fuck is that guy doing? Look at him. He's doing lunges on the battlefield. He's like that scene of Joey from Friends where he's not wearing, or where he's wearing all of Chandler's underwear and he's doing lunges. Yep, don't get it. These are the no problem, Badger. Absolutely understand that, fella. You take some time. I'm pretty much done with this, and we will be doing some painting. I know it's a difficult concept to get across to some people. Hi there, Caveman. Welcome to the chaos. You're joining us just as I get to the end of an old White Dwarf review. This one has been freshly printed and arrived here in my lair. Yep, as I say, there are the glorious dancing world eaters that we discussed earlier, along with the slightly more normal world eaters. Really, really nice Plague Marines. I love that edition of Plague Marines. Blood Angels. the broken company. Why they need 2 wounds, I do not know. But yeah, hobgoblins, night goblins, including squigs, which absolutely should be red. Black orcs, including that guy, who is, you know, a hit with the ladies apparently. And then some completely out of the blue Skaven, who just sort of crept in there despite no discernible Skaven presence in the rest of the catalogue. So yeah, although I do like these old gutter runners, they managed to make these models look quite menacing while also being super skinny as well. And these guys are just some of the, I think that these guys are some of the most iconic Skaven models that they've done. And of course, Throt the Unclean with his extra arm and his man catcher. Right, and then we have the back cover. And the back cover, and this is partly the reason why I decided that I was going to do this little review, is mostly because, as you can see here, they are Elatok Guardians. All over the show, lots of Elatok miniatures. Now, I can't do anything about the fact that I've nosed up the weapon platform. As you can see, I've got no red on mine at the moment. Might have some later. You may see the front cover, 171, which is March 1994, and it's the Eldar cover. Hello Fields, how are you? It has been a little while, but yeah, the main reason I chose these was because you can see clearly here they have 2 main styles of jackets. Although I say that, and that guy there, that one right there, is wearing a red. Fields, I am wonderful, thank you. And yourself, how are you? So this guy here has got a little red jacket on. This guy here has a sort of cream jacket on. And then these 2 guys down here are wearing what appears to be leather on the outside and green on the inside. So quite honestly, I have absolutely no idea what colour to paint the jackets on my guys. That was the main reason I decided to do the review, is because it felt quite appropriate with the Elatok. But then when I started zooming in and I realised that some of these guys might be quite helpful to me, and then I got in a bit closer and realised that no, it absolutely wasn't. It just throws more things into the mix. Yeah, I would quite like to go with a unified look if possible. What I think I might do is I might pick a colour in a sort of grey shade to tie in with some of the like jet bike guys. Yes, Fields, we are doing a little bit of research into what we're doing. Mostly because we spent like 6 or 8 streams trying to figure out a colour scheme, and then we decided on that colour scheme, and then we sort of, as soon as we started working on it, we kind of dropped it and went in a different direction straight away. So yeah, that's just how consistent we are. Right, let's get that guy lined up in the middle. Now, I think if I pull up my semi-favourite. Okay, it looks like we are struggling a little bit to Hello Mouldy, I'm very well thanks, how are you? I'm just trying to wait for a web page to load up, but I don't know whether I'm struggling a little bit with things downloading in the background, perhaps? Maybe? Close you. On a completely random note, you reminded me I need to go to UPS to return a package. Oh, well, I'm glad I can be of some use. I'm not sure. What is that? Why is it? Why is that not loading up for me? I don't know. Ah, you had your big stand-up do thing the other day. Well, I mean, you know, it could have been you were just attempting to stand up. I got my materials ready for market, but now I don't have a stall assigned still, and I'm not sure if I got left out or I just need to be patient. It's my first market. Not sure if that's how real world works. Well, I think you're probably about to find out. It does sound very exciting, though. What are you taking to market? What's your unique thing that you're taking to market, or is it a unique thing? I don't know. Right, let's. Okay. Oh, excellent. Books that you have written. That sounds very impressive. Is that something that you're going to be like selling online, or? Well, no, of course not. You're going to take it to market. Right, we have a few more of our little dudes and 3 pins. I was surprised the pins are only 50 cents each, so I thought it's good marketing gimmicky. Yeah, absolutely. You know, anything that you can give away and not take a huge loss on is got to be good marketing, surely. I think, yeah, online is possibly a little difficult, but I don't think it's particularly shouting into the void. I think you can probably get some fairly good feedback quite quickly online. Just consider the avenues that you're going to head down for it, and I think you'll probably find that it's quite easy to get feedback. Yes, very true. It's why lots of companies use things like loss leaders. It's something to get you in the door, because once they've got you in the door, they know that the majority of you will look at it as an opportunity to view the other things they sell, and those things are sold at huge markup. One of the weirdest things that I ever heard was if you go into Curry's or any, you know, back in the day electronics shop, and you were looking at a TV, the guy who's selling it to you, the guy who's getting the commission and all the rest of it, he will not care that much about the sale of the TV. But you buy the extended warranty or the gold-plated HDMI cable, and he is over the moon because he actually gets commission on that. Because the TVs are sold almost at cost, but things like the HDMI cables, you make a huge profit. You know, I say huge. You sell one for like 35 quid, but you buy it for 3. Although, to be fair, both the whole concept of TVs and curries, I think, are not that long for this earth. Now, this model and one other from this squad, I painted this stuff in this one in brown and the other one in bone colour. But unfortunately, we have decided to go down a different route, so I just need to now do the correction dance, which is come along and paint it over in white, and hope that we don't block in too much of the detail and need to strip the Mini entirely, because that I can't really face. Right, there we go. You didn't read that the pins were only 50 cents to make. Did I not? I thought I read that. But yeah, I mean, a 50-cent pin that you can give away, that's very cool. Isn't it? I hope it is. You can buy these limited edition retro pins for a steal price of 50 quid. Yeah. Absolutely. But you see, the thing is, if you could get $50 for them, I guarantee you there'll be somebody out there who's selling them for that. And weirdly enough, that somebody is sometimes even the same people who will sell it to you for $5. Because then they can actually say to you, oh yeah, we've reduced it. So here in the UK, you're not allowed to mark a product up as a reduced price and list the previous price unless you can legitimately point to it being on sale for that price during the past 6 months. So, you know, you can't say this was $50 reduced to $5 unless you can point at somebody, i.e. yourself, selling it at that price. So what they do is that they send it to a store in the arse end of nowhere, usually Scotland, and they put it up for sale and they leave it there on that price, and they set that price, and then when it comes to Black Friday, They go, oh yeah, this thing used to be £299.50, and now we're selling it for 30 quid. What an amazing deal, come and buy it. And nobody ever bought it for £299 and whatever pence, because it was on sale in the arse end of Scotland for a ridiculous price. Yes, but can any one of us say that we're surprised to learn of it? No, of course we can't, because we all knew that's what they do. Well, yeah, that's also very, very true. So, where is your market? Is it an actual physical market, or is it a digital marketplace? Is that what? Sorry if I'm not quite getting what you were running at. Fields, is it a case of you're physically going to be selling goods, or are you going to be trading over the internet, or what? Tell me what you're doing. I'll tell you, I went in and did a bit of BIOS tuning on my computer earlier on when I first switched it on. I was like, oh yes, must remember, because the amount of times that I turn it on and then forget to hit F2 or whatever it is to go into the BIOS, and I went, oh yes, brilliant, done it, and I've put a custom fan curve on. And now I'm sat here and this thing is going, and like, yep, that's going to have to get turned off like instantly. I don't think I was actually suffering with any temperatures anyway. It's just that all the advice that I'd read was like, yep, put a custom fan curve on. Okay. And now it's sitting here buzzing away. It's quite distracting as well. Howdy AWOL, how are you? I hope things are going well. We were talking about the different time zones that people stream in, and I woke up this morning and I saw that AWOL, that you'd gone live twice while I'd been asleep, and I was like, yeah, I don't know that I'm ever actually gonna catch one of your streams again unless I can get a sort of late Friday or Saturday night thing going on where I'm watching. Maybe if I find myself with a little bit of time, I'll try and catch a couple of your VODs. But anyway, how are you? Yeah, no worries, bud, no worries. I am doing very well. This is a Wednesday evening out of the way. Yeah, I'll catch it at some point. That's what I'm finding is my problem too. I watched at a different time than I can stream, so people I met generally can't watch me stream. Yeah, I mean, I have found it beneficial to, and this may sound a bit callous, but it's not. I do. Hello. Oh, yes, please. Thank you. I do find it generally beneficial to not limit who I watch. No worries, buddy. You take what you need and lurk away. I appreciate it just the same. But it's quite good to watch people who are around about the same sort of times as you, and you generally, and in a developmental way as well. One, you get consistent, and the people who are consistent around you are good people to watch and get chatting with and know them. But also you'll find that occasionally you can go a little bit earlier and then you raid them when you finish up, or they'll raid you back. You know, it's things like that, and then people in their community will get to know you and stuff like that, and it's a really nice sort of symbiotic relationship that you can get going with other streamers. But you do have to do a little bit of research into what times they stream so that it actually works. So we're just doing a little bit of colour correction here, picking up where we left off the other day with with our basic white paint, just going in and correcting. I mean, when I first started streaming, I was streaming gameplay, and a game that I really enjoyed was BattleTech. It's a turn-based sort of isometric, it's 3D, but mostly it's viewed isometrically. A turn-based mech tactical real-time sort of strategy. No, sorry, not real-time strategy, a turn-based strategy. God, I can't even remember what the game I used to play is. And I came across this other streamer who regularly seemed to play that game. Oh, thank you. But it wasn't his main focus. His main focus was streaming MechWarrior Online, quite a well-known online mech shooting game. So I sort of dabbled a little bit around that community, and got to know him quite well, chatted away a little bit. Oh, okay, a new version of BattleTech. Ah. Well, anyway, I got, you know, I started playing a little bit of this game and watching his streams and chatting away into his channel, and he's turned into a semi-regular raider of the channel, just because we're chatting away. But he's like the #1 streamer of that game, and he'll drop in to my channel, and I'm like completely unprepared for it with like my 6 viewers or something, and then he'll drop in with 100. So rather unnaturally, I got my achievement the other day for having 100 viewers at the same time because I got raided by this guy, and it's like, oh my god, that's, yeah, it's a little bit disconcerting when suddenly you jump up to that number of people, and you know, half of them, they didn't ask to get dropped on me, and watching me paint miniatures and what have you is, you know, it's an acquired taste. So understandably, half of them sort of instantly drop out, but you're then still streaming to a good chunk of people, and it's like, okay, I'm actually in the spotlight a bit now, and you actually get camera shy. It's surprising. You're like, oh, holy crap, I'm actually streaming to a decent chunk of people. It's like, wow, that's nah, man. It's just chatting about old models and what have you. It's a very limited thing. If people like it, it'll grow over time. I'm more than happy with how things are developing. For one thing, this sort of steady pace allows me to go at my own speed. The chat isn't overwhelming. You know, I see some people and they literally cannot respond to their chat because their chat is so hammering away. And it's like, wow, that must be quite an exhilarating feeling, but also a little bit frustrating. But yeah, it's quite good fun, and it's quite interesting the way Twitch and networking actually works. It's like something I don't really want to have to consider outside of my regular workplace, especially now as my regular workplace has actually discovered LinkedIn. And so the fact that, like, when LinkedIn first came out about 10 years ago, I think it was, and everybody was like, oh, this is the hot new thing. And so I basically completed LinkedIn years ago. And now my current employer has just decided that, oh my God, LinkedIn is the next big thing. Everyone must be on it. And they all look at me in like this weird, strange, like, how do you have over 1,000 followers on LinkedIn? And I'm like, because it's LinkedIn and it's all bullshit. And you literally just go click, 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 click. And yeah, that's not the sort of networking that you want to be doing, whereas this is quite interesting because it's quite organic. You actually do get to know some of the people that you're networking with, and I think that's quite remarkable to watch, how your relationships with people that you interact with become sort of a natural thing. You will have to excuse me, I am chatting a little bit of rubbish here at the moment because I'm just wondering what I'm going to do with the next phase of these models, because I think that is the last bit of white that I needed to do, which now leaves me with draw the rest of the fucking owl. Okay, right. Sorry if you don't get the reference there, but right, that's that colour done. Now, see, that tab still hasn't opened up. What is that doing? Oh, okay, now it just does it instantly. Fair enough. Weird things is weird. And now my computer is humming away at me again. Right, all I wanted to do was have a look at... Okay. I think we're going to try and find this one here, Griff Charger Grey. Look at that. It sits perfectly on my painting handle. Excellent. Right, Griff Charger Grey contrast paint. And I think this is, yeah, getting to know the people that you're streaming around is quite important to me. So I've made it a thing that if I have more than a few viewers, I try and raid out. And I try and raid into channels that I've chatted in before, because it's a really nice way to pay back that community. Somebody is putting themselves out there, you know, developing themselves, and to turn around and go, okay, yeah, I'm gonna raid out on you. That seems like quite a nice thing to do. But it's developing that relationship with them and learning and interacting with people. So yeah, I do quite like the way that sort of Twitch is developing, if you know what I mean. For me, how I'm developing with Twitch, if that makes sense. Anyway, right, I've decided on a colour, which is the first step. The first step towards admitting you have a problem. Right, now, this is kind of important, because we are going to take our decided upon colour and we're going to paint his robe. Ooh. What you need to do, Mouldy, is you need to have it in your mind, and it's quite simple to do, but you want to be prepared for it. And about 3 or 4 minutes before you're planning to end, just start having a look to see who else is on. So just get another tab opened up and just start having a look, and then your end screen that you use, you can actually talk people through the fact that you're going to raid out, and say, okay, excellent, I'm going to raid out, give it up for so-and-so, and I try and introduce them on my stream before I just dump my viewers onto them. And then you can actually then hit play on your end screen and then hit raid as well. And it generally tends to work quite nice for me, because I've just got a basic, you know, the stream is ending in a minute kind of scene. I know yours is a little bit more in depth with added comedy as well. But yeah, it's I find it quite a nice way to end the stream as well. Sort of gives everyone a little bit of closure. That's way too dark. I'm not happy with that at all. Let's see if we can spread it around a little bit and get it a bit lighter. It might be working. Is that working as a colour? Quite like it up on the shoulder pad, not so much down here, but unfortunately down there is where previously, when we were working up our whites, we added a bit in. Yeah, I think it's definitely a worthwhile thing to look into, and like I say, it helps you to gain a little bit of traction in the communities that you're streaming in. Helps you to develop some relationships. You might even get a raid back once in a while. And don't be afraid to raid a bigger channel either. You know, most of them will really appreciate it. They'll you know, give you a shout out and sometimes a follow back. So yeah, it's all good. It's all gravy, baby. Sorry, I don't know why I said that, and I apologise profusely for it. So we've decided that we are having a weekend off of D&D this weekend. So I'm actually at a bit of a loss. I'm like, oh my god, this thing that I've done now every weekend for what seems like months and months, and it has been months and months. yeah, no, that's very true, Caveman. It's a nice sort of thing to involve your viewers in. Yeah, so no D&D this weekend, which just feels such a strange place to be, because like I say, it's been something that's been there now for every weekend for months and months. But I'm sure we'll get by. I was thinking about offering to run a little one shot, but it does sound like the rest of the group is going to have a bit of a break. I actually quite like that grey. I'm not sure about the coffee staining, but we can work on that as we work on the rest of the model. We're going to need to do a little bit on it just to fix where those stains are, but the grey itself, I actually quite like that. It's quite a subtle colour, and I think that doing that across the whole army will be a fairly nice contrasting colour to the rest of it. So now that I've got that paint open, I'm going to do it on the rest of the models that have a jacket but not the scouts. Sorry if you thought that was what the scouts were going to be clad in, but no, it's all these dudes with the cool little cyberpunky jackets that are going to get that colour, and the scouts are going to get green because they're scouts, and that's what scouts do. Scouts wear green. As anyone who has played a ranger or I don't know, yes, it's the big gaming weekend, isn't it? My brother was talking about that, and he said, oh yeah, you know, I'll probably be quite busy this weekend. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, what with? Watching videos of upcoming computer game stuff. And I'm like, okay, enough said. Excellent. You know, you could just say you didn't want to come round for dinner. God. But no, I appreciate that for him it was again a yearly thing that he always used to watch it, because that was E3. And me being just ever so slightly older, I think what was the one that I watched where they announced the Xbox One and the PS4, I think it was, and Xbox did this fantastic show, but they were blathering on about how, hey, this is going to be the ultimate machine for watching the NFL. And I'm like, one, that's very parochial of you to pitch your entire console usage to the North American continent. Okay, but you know, it's a big market, I'll give you that, but it's very, very off-putting for the rest of the world. And two, what about playing computer games? Have we considered that? And essentially, that's where I became a PlayStation user. Up until that point, I'd had a PS2. I never had a PS3. I bought an Xbox, so I never had a PS3 up until a few months ago, where I got a backwards compatible PS3 for 30 quid on Facebook Marketplace, and then sold it for 150 after changing the thermal paste, and that was it. I was like, yeah, okay, this is great, brilliant. And then I went, hang on, I don't even play current PlayStation games. I'm not going to go back and play ones which are 10 years old. So yeah, that was the gaming event that turned me from a PlayStation person into an Xbox an Xbox person into a PlayStation person. And I didn't touch an Xbox One until basically the end of the generation. Excuse me. Oh, you just play one game. Just play one game. If you just play one game, I'm going to bet that it's World of Tanks. Guild Wars 2. Yeah, fine, I lost the bet, whatever. Is Guild Wars 2 still a thing? Because I played that when it first came out. I pre-ordered that. I had it on the day of release. Yeah. I especially liked where they had decided that for some reason they were going to I especially like the fact that Xbox for some reason decided that what they needed to do was to kill the second-hand market and the idea of people sharing games. I just thought, oh, okay, this is the route that you want to go down in the current climate. And they came up with this weird thing where you would only be able to put I can't even remember how they phrased it. There was going to be this weird thing that you could do to allow your friends to play on your copy of a game or sorry, I've got a real tickle in my throat. I've spent quite a lot of time talking on this stream. Sorry, Caveman, I'll pick up on Guild Wars in just a second. Yeah, so they were like, okay, yeah, we're gonna make it so that, you know, you'll have to do this and do that. And then PlayStation turned around and they came up with this fantastic little meme presentation where they were talking through their guidelines on how to share games with your friends. And they just had one guy turn up and he's holding a copy of the game and he goes, here, and passes it to his friend who takes it, and they go, that's it, that's how you share a game between friends. And it was so funny that, you know, Xbox, which had been doing so incredibly well up until then, the 360, I feel, was probably better positioned than the PlayStation 3 at that point in the market. And it just, like, overnight, it just seemed to absolutely reversal of fortunes. And yeah, I hooked up with a PlayStation 4 after that and never looked back. It did have the advantage of also being yeah, I mean, PlayStation, they must have just literally been just open-mouthed at the open goal they'd been left. It just must have been mad. The other nice thing about it at that time was Destiny. Destiny became a timed one of the first timed exclusives, in that it wasn't the game that was timed exclusive, it was things like the DLC. So the DLC was put into the game, and there were parts of the DLCs that were locked to PlayStation for 6 months, and there was no reduction in the cost to Xbox users. They would eventually, there was a sort of timed exclusive instance in each DLC for Destiny, and honestly, it felt so dirty to be a PlayStation player at that time, because my God, were you just getting the absolute goal, you know, the absolute best deal for you. But when you were looking at the other players who might be on Xbox, it was just like, oh shit, that's really, really bad for them. You know, how can you have it so the DLC is the same price but for 6 months, and Destiny content, it's not always current. Once they get past a certain sort of upgrade point, that content, it falls off. So you get a full 6 months less availability of that content. Wow, that was quite extreme. Anyway, Caveman, Guild Wars 2. I can't believe it's still a thing. That was going to be the next WoW killer, which always made me laugh. When Guild Wars 2 first came out, everybody was like, yeah, this game is going to be the next WoW killer. And I did query the term next WoW killer, in the fact that up until that point, nothing had killed WoW. And I will admit that I was firmly, at that point, in the WoW camp. I know, I hold my hands up, I was a World of Warcraft player. I have, on a number of occasions, actually gone back to it over the years. And believe it or not, it is actually still on my bar at the bottom of the screen. I might have to take it off at some point. Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind Guild Wars. I had what did I have? What was the sort of title race in that? The northern people. I can't remember. I had like a ranger with a pet. Was it a ranger or a? I can't remember what she was. Very cool character. Leveled it up and found there was at that point absolutely no end game. And I was like, oh. Adverts. The Bane. I will keep an eye out for when the advert break finishes. Is that it? Are we done? Is everyone back in the room? I hope so, because I'm going to carry on talking now. Yeah, I had a sort of weird rangery class. She had a pet, anyway. I know she had a pet, so I'm assuming it was like a ranger. And they were this sort of red-headed woman. So long for now, Fields. I hope you have a lovely day. Yeah, so I played this sort of weird red-headed woman ranger barbarian, you know, because Guild Wars is the one where your abilities change based on the weapon that you equip, doesn't it? Toodaloo, Fields. I will be back on Friday, so, you know, if you get a chance to drop by, I very much appreciate it. Feel free also to pop any of your markety stuff onto the Discord if you want to. Yes, that's it, Norn. The northern gingery kind of people. I thought they had quite a cool starting area. Oh, it's parents' conference. Okay, fair enough. That's all right. I will be back other days as well. You take care now. And good luck with UPS. You show them who's boss. Or whatever it is you have to do to UPS. Yes, absolutely. Good luck with the market. He-Man Norn. Okay. Oh, here go my fans again. Right. Yep, I do quite like that colour. I think that's quite a nice colour for leathery, weird jackets. We'll run with that colour. Now, last model standing, as it were. I do love that when you return something on Amazon now, and you just literally have to take it to the post office and throw it at the person behind the counter, and then they deal with everything. It's literally you just yeet it at the post office person, and they go, "No, don't worry, I'll put it in a box, I'll label it," and you give it to them. And then like 4 seconds later, the money is back in your account. It's like the most incredible business model. It's just a shame that it's Amazon that had it. Right. This guy is going to get his little jacket in the same manner as the rest of them. And once again, I will say how awkward the Viper Jet Bike crew is to paint once you've bought it off of eBay as a pre-assembled model. So if you want to have a great old time painting a Viper, don't do that. Buy it new and put it together and do it as sub-assemblies and paint that damn thing. Paint this little guy. Ow! Oh, I'll tell you, I can't. I always remember a game where you created your own superheroes, and it was either, I don't think it was City of Heroes. I think it was Champions Online. I can't remember which one of those has gone tits up now. I think Champions Online was the more cartoony one. I can remember creating my first hero on there, and the game was quite new, and I started messing around with the character creator, and the character creator on that was absolutely bananas. You could literally create whatever you wanted. And so, of course, I created Astarte, the Space Marine, and I was running around Champions Online, I'm sure it was Champions Online, with a Space Marine. And I got quite a lot of comments of like, yeah, that's actually pretty cool. And then I got I got some absolute hatred for doing it as well, which I'm not, you know, I can't be too mad at, because yeah, I was kind of abusing the character creator a little bit, but it was just quite good fun to run around with this absolutely enormous character who effectively just had like a juggernaut combat deal going on. So he was just punch things up close. I can't remember if that's the game where you could get a sword or not. But that was great fun. That was. I did very much enjoy that. Now, I still have my contrast paints guide page open. I need to figure out what damn colour to do these Scouts cloaks. Because I'll tell you what, folks, now that we are starting to pick up the pace with some of these, they are starting to look quite good, and almost, I say almost, they're not almost finished, but they are starting to be a bit closer to finished. So I'm starting to look now at some of the colours that I can pick up and do that will really start to bring them to a unified close. I say that, I've got so many more steps to do to get them to the same as the sample model, which, in case you've forgotten it, I haven't shown it all stream. That's the sample model. So yeah, I do need a bit more work before we're at that stage with all of them. I think we should go with a bit of Creed camo. Let's have a look. So a bit of Creed camo, and we're going to paint the first Scout squad. I don't know, I might actually do the second Scout squad as well, even though they haven't had their yellow done. But I don't think it matters. I think we're okay. We can do a bit of all of these. Right, pop them to one side. Now, way, he went for a dance there. We nearly dropped him. We nearly lost him, guys. Okay, so dark green pretty much everywhere. Is it going to be a dark green? It is a reasonable dark green, isn't it? Yeah, that's going to look great, I think. probably going to have just enough wiggle room in that green to get a little bit of a highlight on it. My main aim with this army was to paint it without really resorting to any metallics. I say the main aim, that wasn't the main aim. The main aim was just to get a painted army. You and me both, caveman, you and me both. You will start to notice a bit of a theme if you stick around, and that is going to be old models. Now that this is actually a project that's got sort of legs and is getting done, I have actually started looking at some of my other miniatures that I have sort of waiting in the wings, that have been waiting for a long time. So I do have another 40k army that I would look to do, but I am thinking that perhaps I might take a break from 40k and perhaps paint some fantasy, which will be a departure from the 40k, but not too much of a departure from the Eldar, because my main fantasy army that I have ready and waiting to go is High Elves. So maybe, I don't know. Although I might need to sort my 3D printer out for that, because I have got a lot of High Elves, and I mean a lot of them. But some of the ones that I would really want to get sorted and ready for a project like that, I might want to print some more of them. Things like doing a massive unit of Phoenix Guard, or you know, that sort of unit. What's that? A unit of 50 Sword Masters of Hoeth? Oh yes, please. Which, if you're not familiar with Warhammer Fantasy, probably means nothing to you. If you are familiar with Warhammer Fantasy, you either got a small hard-on when you heard that, or you were physically sick, dependent upon your alignment. It's amazing how a model can sit there and you add colours to it and you add colours to it. Vampire Lord in 60 zombies. Oh, that's like the ultimate ablative armour, to be honest with you. As much as I've never met that guy, I both simultaneously hate him and respect him at the same time. That's great. Amethystine Art of War. Welcome to the stream. Thank you very much for the raid. Right. Where the mango's at, I'm afraid we ain't got much in the way of mangoes, to be honest with you. How Amethystine Art of War. Yeah, no, it's a good one. Welcome to the stream. Thank you very much for the raid. How was yours, and what were you streaming? Oh, thank you very much for the follow. Adaptus Paints, in fact, as we are aiming for correct pronunciation of names here. Go on, what were you streaming? Oh, some terrain and a Godzilla model. Okay, nice. I'm unfamiliar with any particular Godzilla models, but if you do have an Insta or a Discord link that you would like to pop into the chat, it is open. You are perfectly happy to I'm perfectly happy for you to pop a link in the chat if you'd like to promote your stuff. So please feel free. Plus, I'd love to see what you're working on. I do like to check out people who drop in. I'm afraid I don't have any chat commands at the moment for things like a shout out, but I do like to give people the opportunity to drop a link. So, quick look, shall we? Oh shit, that's nice. I'm sensing a bit of a Demon Primarch theme going on there. What have we got? We've got is that the new, is it a Fulgrim model? That big snake thing? And then what have we got there as well? We've got Mortarion and Angron as well. Yeah, nice. And the Godzilla is the fiery one that I'm seeing, I think, on there. Excellent. Love that. That's really, really cool. Thank you very much for the link. I do recommend that everybody goes and gives that a little look. So yeah, I hope your stream went well. We're currently working on some, I say Oldhammer in the title. They're not truly Oldhammer. These are second edition, although to be fair, these scouts that I'm currently doing do predate second edition, but only by a little. I think they were some of the very last models released as part of Rogue Trader. This is a little bit of a project of mine that we're currently working on to get a fully painted second edition army. Wanted -1 Godzilla with the Burning Godzilla colour scheme. Okay. And you paint for commission? No worries, no worries. Thank you very much for the raid. I really appreciate it. I appreciate a lurker just as much as a chatter. Sometimes they're easier to manage. So thank you very much. And yeah, by all means, go work on. Gotta hit legs. Okay, I'll try and decipher that one while you're gone. Thanks very much for the raid, and I hope to see you again soon. So yeah, as I was saying, this is a project that I'm currently working on. It's a themed Eldar second edition army of Citizen Levy is the theme, which is there's almost a throwaway bit of text in the old Eldar Codex that said that all Eldar citizens were trained that in times of war to protect their craft world, they would take up arms as a citizen levy. So that's the theme of the army. One of my viewers very kindly coined the term for me of Citizen Kane as a slight pun on the Eldar. So that's kind of stuck now. So this army is purely Guardians or Guardian adjacent. So we have Scouts, we have War Walkers, Falcons, not Falcons, a Viper jet bike, and that's it, and weapons platforms. So yeah, we're working our way through this one. We're trying to keep it fairly close to old 2nd edition colours, with a few subtle nods to some 3rd edition. And just because I've only showed it the once in the stream, this is the test model that we're working our way towards. We spent a few streams painting this one up. And we're going to try and work everything up to about the same level as that guy. So yeah, thank you for joining us. That's a rundown of where we're at currently with the project. Do you know, this green is almost, I say almost, but yeah, almost the perfect green for these cloaks. This is very close to the Studio Eldar Scouts. Obviously, they took a bit of actual time and effort into their painting, but this, what are we doing? Creed Camo. Is a really, really close colour match for the Studio Scouts of the time. Right, we've got 2 more in the squad of Scouts. I'm not going to paint the other squad just yet. I know I toyed with the idea, but I would like to get their yellow done first, if only so that I'm working to the same level on each squad, and that I don't get carried away and do something silly with one of them. So what I'm going to do is, because we are right at the end of the stream now, I'm going to finish painting the other 2 models in this squad. In fact, no, I'm not. I've just decided. I've decided that I'm going to stick pretty much to the stream schedule, which is for me to finish at 10 o'clock, because that way I continue to wake up in the morning and I continue to go to work and keep my job and be a happy boy, because I need money. I need money for all the nice things in life, and unfortunately that means going to bed, getting up early, going to work, or stealing it, or other illegal things which I don't condone and I probably wouldn't get away with. So yeah, guys, thank you very much for dropping by. It's been a really nice stream. We've had quite a few people in. We've had some of our salty old regulars and we've had some lovely new people, so I really do appreciate that. I appreciate the raiders. You guys are all wonderful, and you don't actually know how much it means to me to have a little raid from you guys. And as promised, I'm going to repay the favour to somebody else, and we are going to raid out. So let's just see who we've got on the spectrum to raid at the moment. Let's have a look at there is not there's not actually a huge amount of people on. I'm not going to raid Ren again because we raided her fairly recently. Let us drop in on Luna Bacon painting some orcs. Wow, that's looking pretty fresh. Check this one out, guys. I hope you have a lovely evening, and I hope you will join me back on Friday when we go live once again. So thank you very much, and yeah, we'll be raiding out. Toodaloo. Eek.